morning, people. This is Spirit Journey, and this is my second video for the day. It is Wednesday, September 9, 2020, and the time now is 7:37. And yes, that's my little doggy snoring in the background, so I apologize for that. Excuse me. Yeah, I want to talk about the incident with the woman. She was a black woman, and she's wearing a black T-shirt with Jesus, something about Jesus, um, and she was covering this paint on the street in front of Trump Tower. Black Lives Matter. It was done in bold lettering. And what she and another woman did was to cross the police barrier and to pour black paint on the ground and then smearing it with her bare hands. And she, now I believed, I understood her anger, and I've said it, if Black Lives really matter, then why are you doing this and that, and I understood it. And I agreed. But I didn't agree with her behavior. The cops were very nice to her. And you see, many people were taking pictures, and there are many different versions of it because there were many people at the scene videotaping the incident. So you saw the incident from different views. Some of the videos that were aired, they did a compilation of the event, and they were very kind to her, and they were understanding, and she's pro-cops. She says, we need the cops, why defund them? So I'm sure the cops knew that she was on their side, and that's probably why they didn't treat her, grab her, and hog tie her. They were very gentle with her. They're trying to encourage her, but she's in a loud mouth, and she's really acting out. And in the process of her pouring the black paint on the ground, and they said that it was an approved, what do you call it, memorial, something for this BLM. It was approved of, and so it wasn't in violations. This BLM, it wasn't done in vandalism. The Black Lives Matter slogan that was written on the street in front of Trump Tower in New York City. But that woman with the T-shirt, with the Jesus T-shirt, did do something illegal, and it's considered vandalism. And her fervor, even though I agreed with her fervor, but I didn't agree with her actions. See, even though you don't like something, you still have to follow certain social rules out there, laws out there, whether you're Christian or not. It didn't matter that she was promoting her Christian faith, and she wouldn't want someone to interfere with her Christian faith, right? And say, hey, I don't want to hear about Jesus, whatever. So we all have our rights, but when your actions are dangerous, her actions were dangerous, and what happened in the video, when the cops were trying to coax her to leave, to stand up and stop with the smearing of the black paint on the ground, the cop slipped and fell and got hurt. He was writhing in pain. And I was angry at the girl because the girl continued in all this nonsense. Her actions directly caused the injury of this police officer who's trying to protect the public. That's why they're there. And so they were trying to stop her, and he slipped on this slippery paint. See, our actions, even though whether you're Christian or non Christian, it doesn't matter what your religion is, you have to be careful what you do in your fervor for your own cause, because I don't think Jesus would have wanted her to pour paint on the ground so that some police officer who's doing his job could be seriously hurt. What if that police officer um, died at the scene? What if he has a family to take care of? Is this Jesus gonna? Is she gonna pay for his medical bills? You know, that cop. I'm not a lawyer, but I think that cop has a case against her because her vandalism caused the harm of someone doing their job. And even though he's wreathing on the ground, she's continued. She saw what happened. And she didn't say, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And that's what pissed me off. She didn't stop what she was doing and in Christian love help this police officer. Nothing. No apology. She's just mouthing. You have street people who are Christians and in this Christian fervor and hurt people too. You have the far left and you also have the far right, and they're both dangerous. When you go too far in any direction, you're a danger to other people. So that's the first thing. And then I wanted to talk about reparations. Reparations for, in my opinion, throughout all the Americas, and I think it should also include Europe, and even some of those African nations who were behind it, an Arab nation. You have an event that happened, the trafficking of people, African people, and in essence, every black person that whose lineage comes from that experience, we are actually exiled. We're in exile. And many of us are still suffering. And some of us do very well, though. Some of us are doing phenomenal. I know of people doing very well. But I also live in an area where many aren't doing well. And I guess it's perspective. I live in the heart of the city, and you see the down and out. And so I think that's where my perspective is coming from what I see when I go outside. You see the drug addicts. You see young black men, older black men living on the street in such a mess. And then the ones who are not, you also have a growing number of young men choosing what they call the alternative lifestyle so they can get ahead. And I think it's directly affecting the growth and wealth of the community, of the black community. Now, I have seen videos on blacks who are against reparations, and they were clever in their analogy about, hey, why should someone pay for something that they personally didn't do? Or this same individual had a can, like for donations, a donations can, and walk up to random white people on a school campus, and but in mockery that you have to pay for reparations. And some of the whites did give money. You even have some blacks walking up to white people and saying, "Oh, you gotta kiss my feet." And it's like, this is out of hand. I don't think any white person, just because they're white, have to give you even a penny or kiss your feet. See, you're out of line when you do that. You're out of line, and uh, it's shameful behavior. People are responsible what they personally do to you as an individual. But with reparations, in my opinion, has nothing to do with what the current population is doing to you. It is about addressing a harm that never got fixed. It's like a leak in the faucet that never got repaired, and it's trailing all over the home and destroying the home. But slowly, it's a slow death. Reparations is not addressing the people, it's the government and the system behind that government that allowed these evils to happen to a people. And I am a little disappointed with some of the blacks who are against reparations. And these blacks have done very well. The guy that I'm referring to, a phenomenal speaker, young guy, and he owns his business. But surprisingly, the people that he hires aren't black people. And yes, he has a right as an owner to hire who he damn pleases. And as he said, he hires people not based on their color, but on their ability. Now, he specified that he hires Mexicans. So what that's signifying to me is that cheap labor. Now, if he's given all of these Mexicans that he specified uh, employment, is he paying them the minimum wage or below minimum wage? That's a key issue in his story. And that, yes, this man is a businessman, and he knows how to work it, I guess. His ability to make money. But is he, we're also community. And many of these people from Mexico and other countries within the Americas who are doing the type of labor he employs. He cuts down trees. So it is what how okay, many of these people from the Americas, they work as a group. They think community. They think as a collective, and they are collectively doing better than blacks who have been living here in the United States of America for many, 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 many generations. So yes, even though he is helping, helping himself by it, starting a business, and yes, he has a right. He said, "I'm not going to hire anyone because of the color of their skin." You don't think the people from Mexico only hire people that look like them? or speak their language, that's what's being done. And that's why they're doing better. So, yes, you have your right to employ able bodies to do your job. That should be the first. But it's a package deal also with most people. Most people hire their own, or people who are part of their social grouping. The social group could be based on race, it could be based on religion, it could be based on nationality, it could be based on the language that they speak, something that unites them. And it's this uniting that helps certain groups prevail. And so you do have people who'll say, hey, I don't judge by the color of the skin. And I feel that in part, it is exploiting what a Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King had said, that he wants a day when people aren't judged by the color of their skin. But put it in context. Yes, it's a beautiful statement, what King said, in the context. Because at that time, when he's saying that, he was judged solely on his um, heritage and his skin color. And it prevented many things. But again, Martin Luther King, he was not a poor man. He he did well. He went to college. He was an honor student. He was a brilliant man. He graduated from high school at the age of 15, entered college, got his doctorate. He was doing well. He even in segregation, he excelled. He stayed within his community. And the businesses that they may have had in that day, blacks had their own businesses and they hired their own. Whites had their own businesses and they hired their own. Certain things they may have black people do, like domestic work. They hired a lot of blacks to do domestic work or sewing, things like that. Blacks did. They hired hands and they hired them for that, but they were often exploited in the process and bullied that you better do this. They would take them, hey, well, I'm ordering you to have to clean up somebody's house. They really didn't have, they really couldn't say no. So you had things like that was happening back then. So there was discrimination and racism. I think reparations is a very valuable tool. And it's not about shaming anyone. This video is not about shaming white people. No. It's about addressing a wrong that was done by a government, and a government in people's current lifetime that were greatly affected of living in a segregated town, primarily in the South. In the South, you had almost like an apartheid system, and people's lives were affected emotionally, physically, a lot of intimidation and terrorist actions being done by some people. True, not everybody did these harms against black people or in other races. It doesn't have to be everybody, but it was a collective social attack on historically on blacks throughout the Americas. And this thing on reparations really should be a movement for all the Americas. But people are going to buck the system because it puts blacks throughout the Americas at a financial gain that others don't want you to have. That's when jealousies start to perk up. That, oh wow, they're getting more over me. And the insecurities, that's when these insecurities start to come out. And some people rationalize and say, well, you don't own anybody because of, you know, white people don't owe you an apology now. Whatever. It's not an apology that I'm asking for, or for any of us. Any apology is what an individual specifically done to another individual. And some people don't even want to do that. And you have black people who targeted white people too in this current day. You have that. But I'm talking about a social system that was done historically to harm, and that system has resulted in the unequal distribution. I'm not talking about socialism. I'm far from talking about socialism. I don't believe in socialism, communism. No, I'm against all that. Communism, Marxism, all that junk. No, I'm talking about when you're dealing with neighborhoods being deprived of certain, like when they get redlined, when the banks devalue their properties, and it's all designed to keep this particular demographics behind other groups, and that newer groups could come in and obtain the American dream over them. And I think this is what angers a lot of blacks when they see that happening. They're tired of it. And then you're going to now promote like a kumbaya. It doesn't exist. It does exist. And when I hear some of the blacks uh, that I saw on a YouTube video, and I think they were sincere in their hearts, but it was hard to believe. Some said they never experienced, some of the black men said they never experienced racism. They looked like they might have been in their 30s. I'm not sure what state he was living in at the time, but my living in New York City, I experienced it. I experienced a lot of different things. I lived in different locations. I lived in Hawaii. I lived in Florida. I lived in New York City. Uh, I even worked in Colorado. I was in the military. And I experienced biasness, racism, and sexism. I don't want to dwell on these things. I want, hey, let's unite, let's be friends, but it doesn't really work that way. See, when people know they can get away with certain behaviors and target a group over and over again and present negative imagery in social media, and it might even teach you, black people, to even do these negative videos on, some of the music videos. That's what I'm really referring to make us look bad or actually do evil on camera. This isn't helping at all. See, some of us, our mind gets warped, and we're our worst enemy. But it's all a part of the sickness that was imposed upon us. Yes, some of us are doing phenomenal. It's not about the individuals who might be doing phenomenal. I'm talking about us as a group. You go throughout the Americas. See, it's not just the United States. Go to all of the Americas and examine who is living as a group in poverty. And it's usually based on race. It was set up by race. And let's say they're all so called the same race. You may have, let's say, some of them are mixed race. So those who are lighter complected, who have more European characteristics, or let's say they're newer comers into that environment, and they're doing better. It's all really set up because of what happened. Just go look. I lived in the Caribbean, and who do you see in the better positions? Go to Latin America. Who has most of the better jobs? They might say, well, they don't educate themselves. This demographics. They don't do the. It's called stress. It's called, you're not being liked. It's called history. And the system that's in power does not want to give you that leg up. They'll allow some of you to excel. If you, they'll allow some of you to excel if you're going to work on their own agenda. Like people like Oprah, like new up and comings, what's her name? Candace Owens, and other speakers that are slowly moving up. They allow some of us to move up because you'll be used for somebody else's agenda, but it's not going to be used for the wellness for the black community as a whole. It would never be used. Obama was not used to help the overall wellness of black America. And that's why they made sure they got an outsider. Yes, his mother was American, but not black. Father's from some other country. And that he was raised in Asia and raised in Asia Pacific. And then as an adult, he might have been 27 by this time. Then they transplanted him and brought him in the heart of Chicago, Illinois, where he deceived a population by his appearance. Black people basically are trusting. And they trusted him, and they allowed him there. They voted for him to get his seat in his Senate seat. It was an expectation. It's an expectation, and he violated that expectation. He used the people. He got in what they call community organizer. No, he's an opportunist. He's not about the black community and to organize this. He organized for himself so that you'll vote for him. You voted for him, and then someone backed him and positioned him to become a candidate for presidency, and then he won. And 95% of the black community voted for him, and he won. See, that's what it's about, the collectiveness. See, it was the collective community, black community, that got him in the White House. And yes, other groups voted for him too, but a collective 95% is the strong arm that got him there. And it's this same collectiveness and strong arm that we need to continue to do to prevail as a collective group. That I'm talking about the collective. I'm not talking about the individual. America, I notice, is not thinking the collective. When you think collectively, you are able as a become a strong arm for your own community to better it, to block out those things that could harm it. It's like elephants. You have the adult elephants on the peripheral, and the little baby elephants stay inside to be protected. Think of those big elephants as you. And any community who does that formula to have the peripheral, the collective, to protect what's inside, that is what's being excluded or not done in America within the Black community as the collective. We're thinking individual and we need to think group. So yes, you have individual Blacks who are doing extremely well, but they're allowed to do well because they don't hire their own. And God forbid if a Black person hires their own in the collective, they are put down and intimidated by newcomers. And that happened to me in Hawaii. You had in Hawaii people who hired their own, but were not allowed and questioned if they hired a Black person. I was the only Black female in that whole hotel. At least that's all. I never saw anybody else. They had one Black guy working in a different department, and then the person who actually hired me, and that was it. And two people verbally got in my business. One was just being foolish, and one was just a real bias attack, verbal attack on me. He made sure he made sure to tell me he didn't want me there. So things like that happen, and so it staggers me by some of the Blacks of the video that I saw yesterday, that they said they never experienced racism in America. I would love to live where they live. I would love that. I would love to go where he is. And I want to think like these people, like these new up and coming Black people. See, when you stay within the Black community, it seems like somehow we all know what racism is. It's those who seem to marry or be outside of their community, the ones that feel that there's no racism. See, there is the illusion of inclusion. The illusion of inclusion. Just because you might be dating someone outside of your group or married to someone outside of your group doesn't mean that they are not watching you and have certain thoughts about you. People could be married to people, but they could still be bigoted. They could still, in their heart, say, hey, I don't mind marrying this person, but this person better be about me and the community I'm in, and that I'm to benefit off of this union. But I let them think that they're included. It happens. So yes, hard work is very important. And to get out of a pity party, yes. Many of us are living in the past. And sometimes it's important to remember your past. Because see, other people may be smiling in your face, but when they see you, they know how they feel. Sometimes it's subliminal. They may not be consciously aware of it, but soon when you start to improve your lot in life, it 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 sets as a trigger, and all of a sudden they're gonna feel differently. When I went to cooking school to study pastry arts, it was a fun school. I loved it. Very mixed and diverse in New York City. And one of the people that I worked with, he was my partner in a cooking partner at times. When we first started, it was a year program. And he initially was someone that I worked with in the kitchen. And with him, he was a white individual, young man, young white fellow, and he was okay. I enjoyed work with. I enjoyed work with all of the people that I worked with. But when I got a job, I decided that I wanted to get a job in the industry because I'm just that type of person. I was going to school, and then I got a job, a day job in my field as a pastry cook because I need the money and I wanted to get better at it. Well, um, he found out that I had gotten a job. He started to mistreat me. Started to, he said, I don't want you sitting next to me. When we were waiting for class to start, yeah, I don't want you to sit next to me. And then he kicked me under the table. So just be aware that the people that you think are your friends, sometimes they go against you when you start to move up independently of them. It freaks them out. So I just understand it. And then you have this rapper who's saying it's foolish for people to think that, but the racism question. He said, I'm an extremely wealthy man, and many of his the people that watch him are white people, and he gets angry and storms out of the interview. He claims that he can't relate to questions like that about racism, whether racism in America. And I think in part, again, only he's known what's in his own head. But how I took his response, because he got so verbally hostile and stormed out, because for him to admit certain things that may have happened to him in the industry, or his what do you call it, his fan base. If he says, hey, there is racism in the industry, he might lose his fan base, because again, you're not supposed to tell the truth about certain things, and then they might take it as an attack on them and stop buying your records because you offend them. Some individuals in the white community get offended when you tell the truth, even in love. They don't want to hear it. They no longer want to associate with you. They no longer want to buy, because people are programmed in the Americas to cuddle the feelings of others, and that your feelings are sacrificed. And that is a social program put on us. But we don't want to recognize it. We start to wonder why when other groups get sick, we want to run and help them. That is a social program, that you're there to serve other people's needs over yours, and yet you don't take care of your own. You have everybody else's child. You think everybody else's child is pretty, but yours. You employ every other people, and those other people only hire their own primarily, especially if they're newcomers. but they don't hire yours. You hide them. You have, oh, Martin Luther King, don't base on the color of skin, so they go with it, but they don't go with it, and that's why you're in the bottom. You're in the bottom, health wise and social wise, in America, while these other people are doing better over you. You have to ask yourself why. Ask yourself why. Stop thinking the individual and start thinking collectively, and you'll go farther. And I tell you, if we start working, see, that's what these movies are made for. The movies that we see, it's all to think individual and not the collective. And if they show you collectively, they show you killing each other collectively. They show you collectively using the N-word. They show you collectively wearing the pants sagging down. They show you collectively being drug addicts and thieves and violent criminals. That is what they do collectively, and you're collectively perpetuating it year in and year out, year in and year out. And some of us want to deny that this phenomenon is happening and think because if you intermarry or date someone out of your race, then you've arrived. I'm telling you, you haven't arrived. You have the illusion of inclusion, and they want you to stay blind. They want you to drink the Kool-Aid of deception. They want you to destroy yourself. They want you to go into lifestyle choices that destroy you. They want you to be in that black community selling drugs collectively to each other, joining gangs and collectively kill each other. All that is being promoted. You notice BLM does not go into these type of neighborhoods and protest and attack these gangbangers and all that. They never harm them. They don't do that because it's not about protecting you. It's to keep the status quo, but using you as a cover to do harm to others. I really want to believe, I love this country. I am pro-American. I love my country. And I want to stay here, and I want to make it work. I want to prosper and grow. I want to do all what I can do, maybe to do more meditations and try to think of new ways to earn more money. I would love that. I would love my own place. I would love if someone could teach me how I could thrive financially to obtain my goals in life. I would love a place, my own place. I rent. I love my building. I love where I live, but it's getting dangerous in this neighborhood. And I mean, I'm getting older, and I like being in nature, and I see myself in a beautiful home out in nature. That is my fantasy. Those of you know how I can achieve this legally and creatively, They're even shadow banning my channel. I've started businesses, and it's like this invisible hand that is sabotaging each attempt. It's really weird. I don't understand it. And I'm writing about it. Well, I've written about it. I started on it 1 or 2 years ago. Yeah, to document these things that happen to me over life. It's like a hand, a visible hand that's orchestrating, doing things to prevent my elevation. Yeah. So yes, I love people. I think, I love people in my heart. I feel for the hurting. I care about all people. My growing up, I had all different types of met all different types of people. Especially in high school, I socialized with a lot of different types of people. I loved it. I loved high school. I loved diversity. I love hope, and I want to be able to achieve the American dream if I want it. If I want it, and I was willing to work towards it. So that's all I really have to say. And yeah, I want peace and love for everybody. I want us all to um, get what they desire in life and to be fair and try to see through the illusion. Yeah. So thank you again. Peace and love to you. Bye bye.